It's NFL Draft Day. How about that? A live sporting event to watch, share, discuss, argue over. It's going to be fun tonight and for the next few days. It's Thursday, April 23rd. This is SportsBeat KC, the Star's daily sports podcast, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. I'm going to share what I'm seeing as the final mock draft selections for the Chiefs, who pick at number 32 tonight, the best of all possible draft spots. Why is that? Well, that draft spot is assigned to the Super Bowl winner. It's up to that team to keep it or trade it away, and we'll see what the Chiefs do tonight. In our first segment, I've collected some of the mock drafts to see what the experts around the country are thinking. I'm not sure a consensus of opinion has formed on a player, but it looks like folks around the nation are taking the early view of Kansas City media and local draftniks who are thinking cornerback. Part of that thinking was shaped before the Chiefs brought back Bashaud Breeland and after they had lost Kendall Fuller. And it seems like in the evolution of draft guessing, Kansas City media has moved away a little bit from cornerback. Hey, it still might happen, but I'm seeing more players from other positions as the choice. I'll identify a few of those in a minute. And after you hear me list those players, Chiefs beat writer Herbie Teope will give you his idea on the Chiefs pick. It was for a spot he recorded earlier this week. I checked with Herbie more recently. He's going to take that opinion into the draft. After a break, star columnist Vahe Gregorian and I pick up on a couple of draft topics. First, and this is obviously not a Chiefs-related topic, we remember some of the drafts that involved an either-or quarterback choice at the top and how those players have worked out. We didn't include a recent one that we probably should have, the 2016 draft that had at the top Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. You'll remember Goff from California went first to the Rams, and Wentz from North Dakota State went second to the Philadelphia Eagles. Their teams have each played in a Super Bowl, although Wentz was injured in his second year when the Chiefs won it. After that, Vahe and I get into the best Chiefs draft of all time, and trust me, it was an easy selection. But first, let's talk about the mocks. I look at them like college recruiting rankings for football and basketball. It's a totally inexact science, but I love to follow it just the same. So many people do. Tonight, when the first pick is made, and we'd all be shocked if it wasn't LSU quarterback Joe Burrow headed to the Cincinnati Bengals, mock drafts are all but forgotten. Until then, however, here are the names of players I'm seeing headed to the Chiefs. From the cornerback position group, it's Jalen Johnson of Utah, Jeff Gladney of TCU, Alabama's Trevon Diggs, Christian Fulton of LSU, and then Antoine Winfield of Minnesota, who is seen as sort of a safety cornerback player. Those are the names I see most prominently from cornerback that the Chiefs could pick tonight at number 32. Others from different positions that I've seen more than once in mock drafts. Michigan center Cesar Ruiz, LSU interior lineman, center guard Lloyd Cushenberry, and running back DeAndre Swift. That's really interesting to me. If you listened to yesterday's podcast, you heard Vahe and I talking about the evolution of running backs in the draft, not only in the NFL, but for the Chiefs as well. Okay, but now let's hear from Chiefs beat writer Herbie Teope. He taped this segment for the Star earlier this week, and as I said, he has not moved off of this position. Then we'll take a break, and then after a break, you'll hear Vahe and I discuss more draft topics.
I'm Herbie Teope with the Kansas City Star. Let's take a look at who the Chiefs could be taking with the 32nd overall pick in the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft. With the recent re-signing of cornerback Bashaud Breeland, the Chiefs no longer have a pressing need at cornerback, but linebacker, offensive line, and running back could be at the top of the Chiefs' wish list. With just 5 picks this year, the 32nd overall pick should focus on an immediate impact player, not a player to fill depth. And that position falls on linebacker, especially an every down player capable of rushing the passer or dropping back in coverage. The Chiefs returned linebackers Anthony Hitchens and Damian Wilson as starters, but lost Reggie Ragland to free agency. So it wouldn't surprise if the Chiefs took a hard look at Zach Bond out of Wisconsin. At 6'2" and 238 pounds, Bond would fill a position of need, and he could arguably be the best player available when the Chiefs are on the clock. Bond was a dual-threat quarterback in high school and never played defense until college, but his high-level athleticism transitioned well to outside linebacker, especially in his final 2 seasons at Wisconsin. He finished his collegiate career with 98 total tackles, which included 30.5 for a loss, and he totaled 15 sacks in his final 2 years to go along with 2 interceptions and 4 passes defensed en route to an All-Big Ten selection in 2019. The Chiefs need an every-down linebacker capable of covering and pass rushing skills. The Wisconsin linebacker checks the boxes. Other players to consider here are LSU linebacker Patrick Queen, Georgia running back DeAndre Swift, and Michigan offensive lineman Cesar Ruiz.
Hey, it's Blair. We have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns presented on the kansascity.com site, and it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. Your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star, and that support has never been more important. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. So I was coming up with in my, my memory bank, which is a treacherous place I should never rely on. But I got to thinking about years in which there was some kind of debate about which was the best quarterback available in the draft. And often it came down to an either-or proposition. And I'm just going to run these years and names by you. I know I'm missing a few, but these are the 3 that I thought about. So in the 1998 draft, the debate was between Peyton Manning and Ryan Leaf. Remember Manning in Tennessee and Ryan Leaf with Washington State? You probably, like me. In fact, I know you did because you're the Heisman, the region Heisman chairman. We got the Heisman promotion from Washington State, a maple leaf inside an envelope.
I've still got that leaf somewhere. I can't remember whether I left it in the envelope. And if I didn't leave it in the envelope, it might have gotten blown away. But yeah, it was pretty clever. Yep. It was, part of the big campaigns going on then was just little subtle things like that.
Real debate on whether who was going to go first.
Yeah.
As we know, Manning did. Let's fast forward to the 2006 draft. And the quarterbacks who opposed each other in the national championship game that year were Vince Young and Matt Leinart. So Vince Young for Texas went 3rd in the draft, and Matt Leinart went 10th for USC. I just remember there being, all right, who's got the better future? Who was the better college player? They each won a national championship, and Leinart won his junior year and Young the senior year. And then again in 2015, it came down to Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. And Mariota's Oregon team beat Winston in the Rose Bowl, which was the first year of the college football playoff, the national semifinal. So I just remember those years in particular being which one was better. And the thing that I think about now is the only one of those 6 quarterbacks that had a career that you would say was exemplary was Peyton Manning, right? Because Ryan Leaf was a bust, total bust.
Yeah.
We look right now at
still waiting to define those guys.
Matt Leinart was never was a good pro.
No,
Vince Young underachieved as a pro. Man,
Yeah.
I totally misread that. Maybe he was ahead of his time. And Jameis Winston's out of a job, and Marcus Mariota is now the backup for the Chargers. So I don't know. I don't know what that says or what the comment is, except for. We can go to 2017 and look at Mitchell Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, and Deshaun Watson and see where at least 2 of those 3, if there was a debate among those, it wasn't to the level that those other 3 were, but at least in 2017, that produced at least, it looks like 2 really good ones and maybe one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, you're right. And that's, I don't know I love your point about Vince Young maybe being before his time. I mean, we were both at that Rose Bowl.
It was unbelievable. Maybe the greatest game and the most pressure moment and against a phenomenal team. How does that not translate?
I think that was the best college football performance I ever saw, certainly in person. And it wasn't just, doing one thing. So anyway, it's a neat point about that. But the bigger point you're making is the sort of just question mark about the conversion from the college game to the pro game. And for one reason or another, those guys, maybe the jury's still a little bit out on Winston and Mariota, but for the rest, I mean, Peyton's the only guy that had it. And remember, the knock against Peyton in college was couldn't win the big one.
Couldn't win the big one.
They won it the next year with T. Martin as their quarterback.
Yep, and had Steve Spurrier smugly saying that the reason that Peyton Manning came back for his senior year was to be the first 3-time Citrus Bowl quarterback. Who ended up with a better future from that point?
Oh, yeah. Maybe there's a little karma there. I wonder what their relationship ever became over the years. They must have had some relationship. But it is, and it's funny, you were referring earlier to our, sort of our roots in the game. I mean, probably the first draft I ever remember was the 71 draft, when it was the first 3 quarterbacks. I was just looking it up because I couldn't remember for sure, but it was Pastorini and Theismann and Plunkett.
At the time, it was Pastorini, Theismann, and Plunkett.
Theismann, yeah. Had he changed it from? I thought he changed it to Theismann.
I think it was
for the Heisman campaign, then went back.
No, he did. I think he started at Notre Dame as Theismann, finished as Theismann.
Yeah, okay.
It's a hell of a marketing ploy.
Oh my God, yeah.
But all 3 of those guys ended up distinguished in some way. Pastorini probably the less of the 3, but had a good solid career.
And And 6 of the top 99 were quarterbacks that year, according to the Sports Illustrated story. That included Archie Manning and Lynn Dickey and Ken Anderson. So all 6 went on. I mean, poor Archie Manning never played for a good team and got beat up a little, but hey.
A lot of Super Bowl appearances with that group. Plunkett won 2 of them.
Yeah.
As a starter.
So, again, though, what's interesting about this in the context of our broader conversation is evolution of the game. Right? I mean, we're talking about, at that point, that was still when the running back was king. But 6 of the top 99 were quarterbacks. I have no idea if you did a real study of this, if that would be a beginning of the shift. It probably was really later.
Yeah, I think it came
70s,
later.
Early 80s, that you started West Coast offense and things. Anyway, sorry, I'm rambling.
That's good. Sadly or not sadly, we are first-hand accounts of the evolution of the game, at least from this in the Super Bowl era.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Did you watch the first Super Bowl? You were too young, but
I remember. I'll tell you, I don't remember the first Super Bowl. I remember the second Super Bowl. I remember the Packers-Raiders Super Bowl. For one reason, I remember the halftime show. They brought the 2 big, dolls or whatever they were on the field at halftime. The Packers and the Raiders. Big old machines, and it looked like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, only, they were huge. That was the halftime show. I remember seeing that. And I absolutely remember watching every minute of the Jets-Colts in the following year. But for whatever reason, your memories play tricks on you when you're from that part.
Yeah.
I can remember an NFL championship game between the Browns and the Vikings that I think put the Vikings into, was it Super Bowl IV with the Chiefs? I remember watching that. I remember the Chiefs-Raiders, the 17-7 game in Oakland, the last AFL game. Wow, I remember watching that. So,
well, as usual, you're ahead of me. You were watching these things about 2 years before me, despite our basic same age. First Super Bowl I ever saw was Cowboys-Colts, Super Bowl V. And we were living in Austin, Texas at the time, and I was a devoted Cowboys fan. First Chiefs game I remember, though, I think they played a Monday Night Football that 71 season early. And whatever the first, it was Monday Night Football first
1970.
Year, 70. That,
they played one of the first Monday night games early in the year.
And I think Elmo Wright scored a touchdown.
And did his Elmo Wright
dance. And my mom was just laughing and laughing. and look, Elmo Wright, hey, there's a trend story for you. He might have been the first of the dancers. That's 50 years. We like our anniversaries. But again, I digress.
Well, that Super Bowl V, that Colts win, will come into play in our next topic. I'll tell you how in a second. We are going to kind of wrap up our pre-draft conversation with this, the greatest Chiefs draft of all time. I don't think the Chiefs are in a position to have an all-timer here with 5 picks and selecting as late as 32nd. But you never know. I mean, you never know what may come, what may emerge. They may find 5 starters, all make a Pro Bowl, and you never know how this works out. How this works out. But I think you and I have long been in agreement that the greatest collection of talent that the Chiefs assembled in one draft came in 1963. And it was the year the team had moved from Dallas to Kansas City. I don't believe the team was in Kansas City at the time. They may have been drafting as the Dallas Texans still. I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, that's a great question. I hadn't thought about that. Just not conscious of the draft date. I feel like maybe they certainly knew they were Kansas City bound by then. I might look that up while we keep talking. But
well, I'll go down the list and then hear what you've got to say about it. But this was a draft. It was there are 7 picks. There've been 7 picks in the NFL draft now for at least a couple of decades. This draft had 30. I mean, you could draft forever. I draft until you ran out of bodies. I think in the old AFL and NFL days, which explains one of these picks. But I'll run them down. This draft produced 2 Hall of Famers. Buck Buchanan was the Chiefs' top pick in that year. Bobby Bell was number 7, was the 7th round pick. Buck Buchanan, of course, from Grambling, and Bobby Bell from Minnesota. Ed Buddy, offensive lineman, not a Hall of Famer, but a 7-time All-AFL selection, and he's on the All-AFL team from Michigan State. Gerald Wilson, the punter, 11 seasons. He also on the All-AFL team, 3 Pro Bowls. And the 24th round pick for the Chiefs that year was Dave Hill, who spent 12 years with the Chiefs, 7 as a starting tackle. So that 1963 draft produced 2 Halls of Famers, 2 more Chiefs, basically greats, in Gerald Wilson and Ed Buddy, and a rock of a starter in Dave Hill. And I don't think there's anything really that comes close in Chiefs history to that 63 draft.
Well, I don't think they just almost can't be because of the bedrocks of the foundation they became too. I mean, bedrocks of the organization and what it would do. Quick aside, May 22nd they announced they're moving to Kansas City. So if assuming the draft was before then, these guys were drafted as Dallas Texans and now they're Kansas City Chiefs. Probably their contracts were being negotiated while they knew they were coming to Kansas City and things like that. It is interesting, as you noted that about each of these guys too. I mean, so the AFL was 8 teams at that point, right? 7, 8?
No, 8 teams.
8 teams.
4 on each side.
So Bobby Bell was the 56th pick overall in the AFL draft. One of the reasons he was the 56th pick, I think, that he went that low was that there was an assumption that he was going to go to the Minnesota Vikings because he played at University of Minnesota and was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. But the wily Chiefs folks, outworked or out something the Vikings and got him here. I did speak with Bobby Bell a few times recently, but today, as it happens, and off the cuff, we just got talking about that class a little bit, and he still marvels at it. You can't really play this game, but where would the franchise have gone without those defensive stalwarts in particular? Actually, offensive stalwarts too, and that really was. Now remember, they were coming off the '62 AFL championship, so they'd already done a thing or two. But one other quick aside, Blair, too, just a sad footnote. But in that draft was also Stone Johnson, who I'd forgotten was also a Grambling guy. He was taken out of Grambling, as was Buck Buchanan, and Stone Johnson died in an exhibition game or preseason game, whatever they were calling it that era, before the Chiefs played their first game in Kansas City. Died in Wichita, and it just is a sad footnote in Chiefs history. He would have turned 80 this weekend.
How about that? Yeah. I didn't know that he was a Grambling guy.
Yeah.
So would have played with Buck Buchanan.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think up some other great Chiefs draft classes. There's nothing that compares to the 63, but 2 years later in 65, these were the names on the Chiefs draft list. They didn't all become Chiefs. Gale Sayers, also drafted by the Bears. Mike Curtis, the linebacker, who was a hero in Super Bowl V.
I didn't realize that.
Was drafted by the Chiefs.
There's that hook.
Otis Taylor was in the 65 draft, and Gloucester Richardson also, who recently passed away, in the 65 draft. Gale Sayers, of course, and Mike Curtis never played for the Chiefs. A couple others. In 84, the 84 Chiefs draft included Bill Moss, John Alt, and Kevin Ross. Great trio there. In 2005, Derek Johnson and Dustin Colquitt were in the draft. And those guys were kind of forever Chiefs. I shouldn't say that because Johnson finished his career in a Raiders uniform, but retired as a Chief. And
as John Dorsey used to like to say, he's a Chief.
He's a Chief.
Yeah.
He's a Chief.
Yeah.
I think we'll look back maybe at the 2016 draft that included Chris Jones and Tyreek Hill as one of the better ones for the Chiefs. And, sadly, the 2017 draft will always be remembered for Patrick Mahomes, but it also included Kareem Hunt, who was the AFC Rookie of the Year that year and led the NFL in rushing. What could have been, for that draft. So
and Tano.
Tano was the second
still
round.
there, but
he was in between Mahomes and Hunt.
That's right, but those are the only two left from the 2017 class, which is a little funny. I think just based on that time frame, the recency. But just because Patrick's in it, you'll always say
it'll always be one of the great ones.
Rivals any of the greatest classes ever.
Yes, it will. Okay, Vahe, I have exhausted my topic list for today, and we'll be back tomorrow. Well, I'll be back tomorrow to talk some more Chiefs. We'll get Herbie Teope's final mock draft selection for the Chiefs on Thursday's podcast. Hint, it's similar to what Herbie has expressed in the paper earlier this week. So you'll either have to listen to the podcast or get a star from earlier this week. Vahe, thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, Blair.
That'll do it for today on SportsBeat KC, but it far from completes our NFL draft coverage. You'll get plenty of that tonight on kansascity.com and actually throughout the weekend into next week. But tonight also includes a special NFL draft second screen experience on our Facebook page. That's right, starting at 6:45 p.m., I'll be hosting our NFL draft special. We'll provide draft analysis, breakdowns, predictions, and you'll hear from reporters and columnists from throughout the country. Please give us a look tonight at www.facebook.com/Kansas City Star, and that's Kansas City Star, all one word, starting at 6:45 p.m. Thanks to our production team of Derek Donovan, Savannah Smith, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett. Cap tip to Vahe Gregorian and Herbie Teope for their contributions to today's show. We'll be back on Friday with another SportsBeat KC, where we'll wrap up the first day of the draft and look forward to Friday's and Saturday's draft coverage. We'll talk to you then.